everybody. Welcome back to Can You Put Me on Guest List? I'm Katie Knight, and I am very excited to have somebody who I've interviewed so many times, and every time I interview her, we always have something different to talk about. So it's always an absolute pleasure to chat with Anja Schneider. Anja is, well, I mean, do I really need to introduce Anja? Everybody knows who Anja Schneider is. Anja has done so much in the music industry. So today we're going to be talking all about her beginnings, how she started out in music, and what her move to Berlin was like from the very, very beginning, what her first jobs were, what her first gigs were like, her first international gigs. We'll also be talking about creativity. We're going to be talking about Ibiza. We're going to be talking about Berlin. We also are going to be talking about the most challenging part of her job and also the best part of her job. We're going to be covering loads of stuff today. Anja is just such a lovely, down-to-earth person, so it's always so lovely to have a chat with her. She also has given the best guest list rule. You know, at the end of this podcast, I ask all of my guests what their guest list rule is, and Anja has definitely won that guest list rule. She's given me the best guest list rule so far, so make sure you don't miss that at the end of the chat. And thank you for joining us. Remember, you can subscribe to the podcast. I release a new episode every week, and thank you for being there. This is Anja Schneider here on Can You Put Me on Guest List? How are you? How is everything?
Everything is good. I'm a little bit in stress because we have school change now here, and I have to get my son better at school, that he gets to a better school, you know, in the end of the year, so at the end of the semester, which is a bit stressy, but it's all good.
Oh, yeah. How is it like juggling, you know, your kids and touring and doing everything you have to do? I mean, I'm sure now you found a perfect balance, but...
Yes, of course. I found a perfect balance, but especially when you found it, life is going to change, and especially when you have a kid, it's going to change. You know, every period is different and has its own problems. And now we get in this little pre-teenager phase, which is really difficult. You know, if I'm not there, he gives a shit, and he's happy if I'm not there. So, but it's not that what I want. So every phase, so you always think, okay, now I'm done, everything is perfect, and suddenly life is always different, you know, shows you the opposite. But it's okay. There's always problems coming, and also good things, not only problems, of course.
Yeah, of course. So when I was preparing for this interview today, I realized that I think you're one of the people that I've interviewed the most since I started interviewing.
I think so too. It was our legendary interview in the Amnesia, of course. I remember this one. Sorry.
Well, we have the first one. I actually sent it to Emma the other day. The first one was in 2013. That was at Amnesia, which was my first ever year interviewing, and that was a Musicon. And then the second one was the legendary one at Space, when it was Space closing at 2016.
It was Space, yeah. I remember. Oh my God! And since then, you are constantly in Ibiza, yes?
I'm constantly in Ibiza. Yeah, This is where I am now. I mean, in different winters, I've travelled out and done different things in different places, but my base is Ibiza always.
And how was it during the pandemic last year?
Strange. I mean, I guess just like everyone, it was a really weird time, but our lockdown in Spain was quite brutal. We weren't allowed to leave the house for absolutely anything. You were only allowed to leave the house if you wanted to go to the supermarket or if you had to go to the pharmacy. But there was like police and army all over the island, like making sure nobody was going everywhere. So, crazy. And I lived in a really, really, really small apartment at that time. So just not being able to even leave the house to do exercise and being in like a 1-bedroom studio for a long time, it was hard on a lot of people. But then after that, things started opening up here. We didn't have clubs, but we had the restaurants and stuff. And the island still got busy. It was good for restaurants and obviously shops because people were spending their money in different ways instead of going to the nightclubs. And then this year has been the first year that we've had everything open again, and it has been such an intense season, like so intense. I don't know if you've been over much, but...
Yeah, I've been, but for me it was a little bit too much, and it was also my impression that it was a little bit too much parties, so not every party get crowded as it's supposed to be, because it was way too much, you know. And then, for example, DC10 had 5 parties instead of 1, and of course some people not going directly in DC10 because DC10 was always the Monday. So I played Patrick Topic's party for the beginning, and he was happy. But I, of course, saw this club much more crowded, and of course it's difficult. Then you have 2 English parties in a row. Thursday there was Solid Groove, Friday Patrick. So I think it's not healthy, you know. And also I think Carl Cox, I heard it was quite difficult because people that went to Carl Cox, they love space, you know. They're not really comfy with DC10. And also the hardcore techno nights, I think the Amelie nights were also not what she is normally getting, you know.
Yeah,
I think it was way too much.
There was just so much to offer, and it's not even the club nights. There was like, I've said this recently in another podcast, but it's like you have obviously the club nights, but then there's the daytime clubs, then there's the beach clubs, then there's the boat parties, then there's the after parties, and there's villa parties, and there's just like not just one thing 24/7, but there's like various options all the time, and I think it's just been a little bit too much. I think this season.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So let's see. Let's see. Now we've got ADE coming up. We wanted to slow down, and now it's Amsterdam time. But.
Yeah, and also the closing. It was never ever such a long closing. You know, we are in the middle of October and there's still closing parties somewhere. You know, crazy.
I mean, today is the 18th of October. On this Saturday, which is the 22nd, Club Chinois, what used to be Hard, that's still open.
Crazy.
So there's still stuff happening all the time, but the island is actually still quite busy. That's the thing. There's still a lot of people about, and as I said to you before, it's like the weather's really good as well. So yeah, longest season in history for sure.
Wow, crazy. So now I can see properly. Sorry.
So thank you for coming on my podcast.
Of course.
Really excited to have you. So that's what I was thinking before. I know I've interviewed for different things. We did Elro Stream last year. We did an Ibiza Global Radio one the year before, but I'd never had you on the podcast. So I always like to start this podcast talking a little bit about your beginnings and, and just to learn a little bit more about how you started out. So I'd love to know where your love for music came from and how it started for you.
Oh, actually, I think the first time that I get into kind of electronic music was, of course, for the bands of Depeche Mode and The Cure back late 80s or something like this. I really loved these bands, and it was quite famous in Germany, probably also like everywhere else. So this was my first love for electronic music, kind of, you know. And of course, then I bought my first record. It was not the first, so it was the second. It was really a Kraftwerk, Computerliebe. And this was something what completely blown me away because it was different than all this, what I heard in the radio, what I known before. And of course, they were German, you know. I love them, and probably they are responsible for all this move what I did within the music and my taste.
At what point in your life did you realize that you wanted to make a career out of music? Was it from a young age?
Absolutely not. This was more like an organic thing, you know. Of course, then I started to go out. I heard my first DJ, and I knew there was something going on. And during this time, I was still living in Cologne. I'm born and raised in Cologne, and Cologne was during this time not the hottest city. It was definitely later with the labels of compact and stuff like this. So, and of course the wall came down. I never been to Berlin, but I heard there was something, biggest things going on. There are clubs in restricted areas, in old fallen houses where you can just go. There was a kind of anarchy, which I never experienced until then. And then I made my first travel to Berlin, and I stayed.
So your first travel to Berlin, that's where you just stayed after that, because you're still there now, aren't you?
Yes. I mean, of course, I went back and forth, but it was for me absolutely clear that I want to stay, because I went to the Tresor for the first time, and it opens up my mind. And I never saw something like this. And it was kind of a freedom, and it was new music and completely new energy. And I was completely in love with the city during this time. I'm still in love with the city, I have to say. But there was something going on which you definitely could never find somewhere else. And for me, everything was open and freedom. And so I moved to Berlin. And it was not ambitious that I'm looking for a career in the music business, because I was coming from marketing and communications, and I worked in advertising agencies. Yeah. Berlin during this time, there was absolutely nothing. There was no one knows what to do. There was like a new city. They had to find themselves. There was not not much money. You could easily stay in Berlin with really, really not much money. So it was even no jobs. But then I decided to give up and go to Berlin and find a job in an advertising agency here, which I did. But of course, I was only living for the weekend. This was not comparable with this where I'm coming from. It was like a little, I don't know, circus, whatever. But I just came here. I just needed a job for my parents, But I came here to Berlin because I want to go out and I want to see the clubbing scene, because I wanted to be a part of it. Because I had directly the feeling that there is something going on which is bigger than it seems now. And I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't want to be only like a weekend guest. I want to be in the middle. I want to feel the energy. And this is why I moved to Berlin. And during this time, then because in Berlin there was not a lot of knowledge and a lot of no students, nothing, because I told you it was like a really anarchy city. So, and then I realized there is a little pirate radio station called Kiss FM, and I called them and said, hey, I have some skills. I know how you write a letter. I'm structured. I worked in an advertising agency in Düsseldorf. Do you need my help? And of course they couldn't pay, but you could easily live without money during this time. And I said, yeah, come over. And this is how I started to work in music business, because I was doing the whole program manager for this pirate station, and it was quite funny. We had, for example, Paul van Dyk was doing a morning show. He was not this big one already. Ellen Alien started her first techno show. It was called Brain Candy. And literally everyone who started during this time at this little pirate station is now kind of celebrity is hard to say, but he made or she made the way out of it and made a big career out of it. We have some TV presenters from there. We have producers. We had Paul van Dyk. We had Ellen. Everyone made history somehow.
Wow, that's crazy. So is it there where you learned to DJ as well, or were you already doing that before?
No, I was not DJing at all doing this. I was just helping them because I was the most organized person in this because I came there every morning like, hey, can you come and do a show, because we had to organize and no one was really taking care of it. So I brought a little bit of structure, and then it was getting more and more professional. Then money came in, someone bought it, and it was then not this hippie circle collective what it was before. So I moved away, and I had an offer from government, like the BBC, from ARD, from RBB, from Radio Fritz, and they asked me if I can help them to get a little bit more consultant then into electronic music. And this is how I started to build electronic music shows, to start to make presentations, marketing presentations, to work for the Love Parade with them. So, and during this time, because I was organizing everything, they were asking me, why are you not doing your show by yourself? And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm not really ready for this. And I had the feeling, if I start a radio, I would probably talk a little bit stupid, like, hey, hello, hi. And then everyone thinks on the marketing side, she's crazy and don't take me serious on that point. But I did it, and it was the best decision in my life. So I started my own radio show, and during this time, it was like end of the 90s. Radio was a completely different role than it has now. So everyone was listening to it, especially in Berlin, before they went to the clubs, because they get all the information, how they can go, what's going on this night, what kind of DJs are in town. A lot of DJs came to my show. So it was really, really popular, and it has had a big name and really big impact. And then, of course, I had requests if I want to play music as a DJ. And I thought, completely stupid, of course, when I can do this in the radio, I can do this in a club, without knowing that you have confronted directly with people and that you have to mix. And you can see the reaction, which in radio you're completely free and okay, It's not really terrible for your mind. So in the first gigs, you can imagine, they were terrible, and then I thought, okay, maybe you have to learn it and you have to check it, how it's really going when you want to do this, and I did, and it was good.
That's such a good point of, radio DJs that go from just playing on the radio to then, playing in front of a crowd, because it is totally a different thing, even though, okay, they're under the same name, but it's so different.
Yeah, it was terrible. And of course you can see the reaction. And if you play on radio, maybe a track which is not fitting or people don't like, you don't care because you can't see the reaction. Maybe, no one was writing, oh, this track was not really nice, but you can see it directly if you play the wrong track. And beat matches is in the radio also different, because I had a radio booth which was different from a DJ booth. And I remember first time it was a club gig, it was also end of the 90s, and I played, I think, just before Paul Kalkbrenner, and it was such a mess. It was terrible. It was a party of friends and they believed in me, but I had absolutely no clue. So it was the most embarrassing moment in my career. And of course, maybe also the most important, because I really realized, okay, you have to do something. You're not doing this again. You're so ashamed. And it was really terrifying for me.
Wow. And what about your first ever international gig?
Oh my God, I think it was probably something. Oh, yes. Oh my God. It's a funny story, because the Cats and Dogs, they were already friends, or we made friends, or we known each other. They were also in the beginning of the career. And they had a little party in Stettin, which is like 2 hours from Berlin with a car, but it's in Poland. And they invited me, and I was super nervous and curious and excited. Excitement was really big. So I came there, and it was actually 6 people on the party: the 2 cats and the dogs, Wojtek and Greg, me, then my driver, and I think someone of the friends of them. So this was my first international gig. But until then, we are really, really close friends, and because it was a fun night in the end. It was great to meet them. It's great to see what we are still both there. And we didn't give up, Some people nowadays, if you look now to the scene and how the business is, maybe some people giving up too fast, because now when you start, you're directly, boom, exploding.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think it's harder or easier nowadays to make a name of yourself because we have like social media and all of these platforms? Do you think it's, I don't know, sometimes I feel like maybe it is easier because you have more of a way to show yourself, but then on the other side, I think there's a lot more people that are trying to make it than there probably was before.
I mean, there are definitely so many people that want to make it, and there's so many DJs out there, but I'm absolutely sure it's much more easier, because the most of the big artists now, they have like a huge team. Some of them, they had even a marketing plan. Some of them, I have the feeling they're there because of a marketing plan, and everything fits so perfectly together. So, but you will never know how much this is going to be last. I would love to see this kind of DJs in a little shitty club with shitty sound system where we've been all through this. And I'm not mad about it, because this is the matter of the times, and I'm not a person who is like jealous or thinking, oh, of course it's happening, it's a sign of the times. But it's of course sad, because sometimes when I look to this artist, just my personal feeling, I don't feel that they are feeling it, and I'm not sure if they're having fun what they're doing. They have always the same expression in their face and the hands up in the air and stuff like this, which looks for me a little bit like a formula, which is sad, unfortunately. But on the other hand, I'm also super, super happy that we didn't have the social media, that we didn't have a phone where we could take pictures, because there was so much embarrassing moments.
And at least they're not all over the internet.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there were some really crazy times back then, and it's wonderful that we have this in our heads and minds. And now it's a really tough life, and sometimes I have also the feeling that some of this probably great artists, but they've never been to rave, and they never were raving, and they're so wonderful, and everything is so clean and always like a scandal. And sometimes we are still I'm a raver from my heart. I love to go also on the dance floor and freak out dance-wise, not like I was back in the days, but it's still really big thing in my life. And sometimes I have the feeling this new artist, hopefully they had this too, you know.
And they got their trainers dirty.
Yeah, because sometimes you have to, you know, we are playing, we are part of the scene, and we are not better than our audience, you know. So I think, and this is something what I'm missing, or what I'm thinking, this could be cool if they would love to send him to rave 3 days without showering and stuff like this.
Where is your favourite place to rave?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Of course, I'm coming because I'm living in Berlin, and the favorite place for raving was definitely the Berghain for me in Panorama Bar. But I have also to admit that it's a long time I didn't go there since a while, but because I'm always a little bit afraid, because when you're going on a Sunday night, you easily can't make it on a Monday because you forget time there like this. And this is a wonderful space that something happens like this, you know. And of course, there are also, I mean, Berghain is so easy to say because the whole world is talking about it, and this is the biggest rave temple. But of course, there have been also wonderful places outdoor on a festival in the mountains in Switzerland, or I've been to a beautiful place in Morocco 2 weeks ago, which is like from the surrounding amazing, and in the desert with the ocean, it was wonderful, you know. Wow. Which is also beautiful. There are so many beautiful places, but I think I have also the feeling with the new that the places where you can rave getting more and more experimental and more pushy and more bigger, brighter, more adventure. So I'm not sure if this is really, you know, helpful, because you have to be inside yourself. You have to be ready to let loose, and you should have to do this on a really safe place. And this is the most important thing, that you can rave on safe place. And it doesn't matter if it's on a club or wherever. This is the most important.
No, I totally agree. Is it true that they're going to close Berghain?
Of course, there are rumors. I have no idea. But I mean, even if it would be like this, I mean, can you imagine you run the Berghain since more than, I mean, Osgood, I don't know how many years they're doing this now, 40. If someone is done, because it can't be even better. They reached everything. Yeah. I could understand it, but I'm not sure. I have no ideas, but I could understand it. It would be a really sad news if it's true, but I can understand both sides. But it's a big loss if it's happening, definitely.
It's like when space closed down.
Yeah.
That last dance, that was the weirdest thing. And now, I don't know if you feel the same, but whenever you go into high, I always just feel like it's just such a strange feeling. I never really feel like I've connected with the club since then. Mm-hmm. Like you see all like the side doors and you're like, oh, that's where you would go to go through the kitchen. And this used to be like that. But everything changes and moves on, I guess.
I couldn't go to Hyde. I couldn't make it.
You haven't been yet?
No, I haven't been yet, because also it was so emotional the last day. And it was such a club with such a meaning and so important for a lot of people, so I couldn't go there.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like the first few times that I went, I found it really, really difficult to enjoy myself, because it just brings back all of these lovely memories. Mm-hmm. And the people that haven't been to space, I always think, it's such a shame that you never got to experience what it was like before, which would be the same for people if they haven't gone to Berghain. But again,
of course,
life goes on. On.
And there will be something different.
Yeah, exactly. If you had to choose 3 of your biggest career highlights so far, which ones would they be?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, there was the first Love Parade I played. I think it was 2008 on the Siegessäule in Berlin. This was massive, and I was definitely also not ready for this. And this is what I was saying earlier, you know, when you're probably in a first status, in a really young status, your career, you get thrown out to a big thing. And I was not ready for it. But I did my best, what I could do for this time. And when I look back, it was really, really important for me. But maybe it was good that I didn't see the importance of what it reflected to my career, but it was one of the biggest things. And then definitely when we created Mobile and we had our first success and our first parties in Barcelona, because we had like this family context, which was beautiful, what I never experienced after this. You know, we all went there, we slept in one apartment and we were cooking for each other. And I remember Thomas from Panpot, he was during this time, he had fear of flying. So we went with us went with him via train to Barcelona. You know, there was like it was like a family. And everyone was taking care of the other person. And I never experienced this again, and definitely missing this. And
I always used to love at Sonar when you used to do the rooftop
ones.
Yeah, that was so nice.
Yeah, this is something what was really also like a highlight of my career. And then, of course, the third one was, maybe I can't even describe it as a moment, but it was definitely when, I don't know which song, but when you had like your first moment in the studio where it clicked, where I experienced that I can make music even without making something, and that I know that I could feel it. And this is something that was really beautiful. Sometimes you have these moments also when you are DJing that you are not thinking about what's player next. So just everything comes like organic. And this is something why I'm still DJing, because this moment is like the best ever, and you're always looking for this, the perfect party, you are with the music in the crowd, and it's not on every gig, definitely, you know, and this is also something which is wonderful and which you can't really name. It was there and there. Sometimes it happens, sometimes not.
That's such a beautiful way of putting it, because I was just going to say, is it something that happens in every party? But I guess there's just moments throughout the time you're playing, right?
Yeah. And it's really hard to say, but for this moment, you're always going, okay, I want to have this again. It's like a special feeling, like adrenaline, that you say, okay, I'm doing this next gig, maybe. And sometimes you get surprised, you know, you think like, oh, this sounded not so nice, clap, you know, you read what's going on, and then it turns out like a beautiful moment. It's all perfect, the sound is perfect, and then sometimes when you have too much expectations, then it's mostly like, was okay.
I bet the first time that you have that feeling, it must be like, because you've never felt it before, you don't even know that you can actually reach that limit, so it must be like this whole rush of adrenaline through your body, like, wow. This feeling is insane.
Yeah, definitely. This is why we are doing all this, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is the most difficult or complicated part of your job?
So definitely I'm struggling with social media. I mean, of course, it's a part of our job, but of course, it's also super difficult because sometimes, I saw yesterday this wonderful video from Annie Mac. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
So where she was like, okay, sometimes you have these days where nothing happens, you know, you can't really get yourself, you work, but you're not really inspired, you do something, this gray days, you know, and then the moment you open up your phone and look into Instagram and think, oh, this person has a wonderful day, and look, and then you start to compare your shitty day or a normal, just boring day with the life of the others, and you think, oh my God, how you can present yourself and make yourself more interesting. And I can't show my boring life because everyone else has an amazing moment now, amazing days, everyone is on Ibiza in the sun, and you're like here in a great Berlin. And this is something where, of course, I'm struggling with, and I have to stop to compare or to get negative feelings, because it's stupid. It's not really reality, and of course, everyone shows the better me on the Instagram. And it's of course something where I'm struggling with, and it's a process not to do this. And of course you're always thinking, why this person plays on this festival? It could be me. No, of course, It could be thousands of different other ones, you know. And this is really the hardest part, to be more relaxed and saying, I don't care, it's wonderful, I'm happy, I'm really happy with this, how it is.
I can agree more with you on that, because I think it happens to not just in our industry, but in so many different industries, where it also takes up so much, not just of your time, but your headspace as well, where you'll start looking at something and then So as you said before, okay, so why is this person playing in the festival? And then you'll go on their profile and then you'll end up scrolling down and going on this picture and that picture. And then you end up looking at their cousin and their cousin's friend.
Yes.
And then and it's like this whole rabbit hole of just going down and comparing. And it is, I think it is a big issue, and it takes over so many people's lives in such a negative way. I think social media has its good side to it, which is obviously, you know, for promotion and, you know, connection and networking. But the other side, the downsides to it is definitely that it's just not reality. You're just showing the best part of your day, which could be like a 1% of your 24 hours.
Yeah, of course. And sometimes we are not thinking about why is this person there. You know, you never think. I mean, there's some whatever. You know, you always have to see the whole picture, and this is difficult, and this is quite hard. Just be free of this and not wasting your time. But it's exactly like you said, you're going over the cousin and there, and it's interesting. And then suddenly in 2 hours and you're like, oh, what?
Yeah, literally. I have to give myself times now, like from a certain hour in the day, I will just not be on social media, because otherwise then I'm like, I've just wasted 2 hours of my life looking at somebody else when I could have been doing something totally different.
Yeah.
But I think we all do it.
Yeah.
And what about the best part of your job?
I mean, the best part is it's so funny, you know, because after the pandemic, I'm really enjoying, even if it's a pain in the ass, to travel again. You know, traveling is not easy. But of course, when you're here with all the, you know, suddenly you can't go out and you're all the time with your beloved family, it could be also difficult. And now it's wonderful that you know, okay, no stress, because of the weekend I'm leaving for 24 hours, which is wonderful for everyone in this household, I would say. And of course, traveling is like amazing, and meeting other people. And because I had no idea that I was missing this so much, and be with other people and get more experience in, because I get inspired from traveling and meeting other people. And sometimes it's really interesting, because sometimes you be with people you never thought about, and it's interesting how other people life is. It's not this what you see on Instagram, and they suddenly talk about problems, issues, and what they're doing, and have interesting jobs where I never thought about it. And I love this so much, connecting with people and different cultures.
Yeah, it's the total opposite of what we just talked about on social media.
Yeah.
So social media, you see like the not so real side, and this way you actually have conversations about real things that are happening in real time and real people, which is the best part of it. Do you travel by yourself most of the time, or do you travel with somebody?
No, most of the time nowadays I travel by myself, and of course there were better times, I have to be honest, where I was able to travel with a tour manager, but the times are changed, and of course now we have to support each other, also the clubs, so fees getting in my career not higher, which is also okay. And so I have to travel by myself.
Do you like traveling by yourself?
Actually, it's more healthier.
Okay.
No, I had a wonderful tour manager, the best you ever could have. It was also my best friend. But of course, it is like, it's a wonderful gay guy. So we enter the hotel 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, now we have 3 hours for dinner. And like, let's go, let's meet at the bar. You have your first drink. Yeah. And of course... And then suddenly you have 2 drinks, and then you go to the dinner. And normally I'm always sleeping after the dinner, or sleep before my gate. But if you have a tour manager, you have the dinner, you go back to the bar. And then you go early to the party. So he's all the time. And so it's much better to travel by myself, in my case. I mean, I can't speak for everyone else. I mean, everyone has... probably different structures and roles, but of course when it's your best friend, and of course we are always curious, and then we were like running to the city and having a little wine here, and it's like more socialized, and was a friendship adventure, and now we both said it's much healthier if you do this.
A much healthier lifestyle. Yeah. When you come back from touring somewhere, what things do you do to totally disconnect from your weekend? Do you have other things that you like to do outside of music?
If I come back on a Sunday, I'm looking stupid German telenovelas or Tatort, or trash shows. I'm sorry to say this. I mean, I know everyone on Instagram would say I have these wonderful films like Super Here, Jogo Da, whatever. No, it's trash TV sometimes. I like it, especially on a Sunday.
Yes, nice. That sounds like the perfect night in.
The Kardashians also.
Do you watch the Kardashians?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, not sometimes. I like it.
Do you watch it in German or in English?
In English.
I don't know if they would do it in German. That's so funny. I didn't think that they would. I just thought that was like a very like American British thing.
Sometimes I like it because it's so stupid, and I like what kind of problems they have, and then I'm thinking, you know, I mean, we're all watching trash TV because it's kind of Instagram, and we think, oh, come on, we are not the only one. They are much more worse than we.
Yes. They're much worse. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. So between your weekend gigs, do you do other things during the week that are outside of music, or is every day for you evolved around music somehow?
So since now 18 days, I had a radio show actually every day from 5 to 7. It was a special show for the German classic radio, and they had a section, a program called Beats Radio, and I did the drive hour. 5 to 7, and this job came through me during the pandemic, and they offered me a show, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And then they came like, no, we want to have you every day, because I thought they were talking about a weekend show, and I did it, but I did it for 1 year, and I couldn't do it anymore because it was too much music, because I completely underestimated how much time it cost. Every day, 2 hours, it was more deep house, organic, something drive time. You have to find out what people are listening during this time. And then I was a little bit too much DJ, that I didn't want to repeat myself too much. And it was super tiring. I had no time to do something else. And since 18 days, I'm a little bit lost because I don't have a radio show, because it was really intense. So, but I'm thinking about to do radio again. There are some nice opportunities, and I think I will be back, but not on a daily
show. Mm-hmm. 2 hours a day is a lot of work, and I can imagine for you, if you also have to prepare your music for the weekend, and then you have music, basically you're looking for music for 7 days a week.
Yeah, and I couldn't do anything else. I was all the time constantly on every flight on my computer preparing my show. And it was way too much. And I'm super happy, and it was a really intense time. It helped me through this really difficult year. But I'm done with this.
Isn't radio so nice, though?
Still, absolutely. Of course, I had also my little podcast series called Backstage. And actually, I was thinking about to invent it or to restart again. I'm not sure if I should do this because,
that was great. You should do it.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you should. Is there anything that you would change about the music industry?
Of course, I would love that everyone takes more risk again, you know, or that the clubs can survive, because that we're gonna go a little bit away from these huge festivals, VIP hype. Because when I started to go out, there was this little club around the corner, and they always served me good music. I could trust them. It was a safe space during this time. And now I think these little clubs are not existing anymore, because they are always thinking they have to book big headliners, but they can't afford. And I think also these huge festivals can destroy a little bit our local club scene, which is really sad. Because people will have this big money, you know, anymore. I mean, maybe this year was okay. We don't know what's going on next year.
I know. I think especially with everything that's gone over the last 2 years, it's just it's so hard to predict now, isn't it? What's going to happen? Yeah,
absolutely. It's I'm not looking, in my opinion, to a bright future, especially for these younger people now. You know, it's going to be a little bit more harder. And actually, we grown up in the best time ever. You know, we were not thinking about anything bad or terrible, and we were really blessed for this. Me as a German girl, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there are a lot of people, they've been through a lot of terrible things, and for me the most terrible thing was first time in my life the pandemic. You have to think about it, you know. So it's so I'm really grateful for this and can a little bit imagine what other people been through.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Sometimes we forget about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, as we were saying before, there was obviously a very negative time, but there was people a lot worse than a lot of us out there. Tell me a little bit about Sous on the label. What's happening? How is it going so far since you launched?
I'm happy. It's quite difficult. I mean, of course, when I started Mobile, this was much more easier times, and we got directly success. But of course, nowadays, I don't know how many labels we have. 25,000. Just so, I don't know. I just say So it's quite difficult, to make it outstanding. And these times are definitely over. Comparable to Mobile Start, and it's actually running well, and I'm starting a compilation which comes out on the 18th of November, which the artists, they've been already on my label, like for example the English Because of Art, and I have Matrefakt, Isaac Reuben, then I have Julian Bracht, I have Reform from Italy, really young people. Nice. It's going to be good. Hope you like it.
Well, I'm sure we will. And just to end this podcast, I ask everybody the same question, because the podcast is called Can You Put Me on Guest List? And that is, do you have a guest list rule?
I always put Sven Feet on my guest list. Just for the name, because, it's just like someone is on my, and then always the promoter like, oh.
Where is he? And then you get better drinks, a better rider.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So hopefully he will not hear it.
That's so funny. Anja, thank you so much for having this chat with me.
Okay,
and
thank you.
We'll do our yearly chat next year again.
Yeah, we have to. And hopefully I'm going to see you in person once. Okay.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.